Yes, I did. So that. Oh my God. Hey, Yoko. That's good. Yeah. Up there. How's everybody doing tonight? You guys hear me okay? Alright. Before the meeting starts, I just want to touch base with all of you. First and foremost, thank you all for coming. Second of all, most of you may know this gentleman that you probably just saw walking on, you know him as firefighter Rick. That's Captain Rick Caldwell. On June 11th, Captain Caldwell is going to work his last shift at Skellington Fire Department. On June 12th, we're going to gather to celebrate a remarkable career and honor a fire captain whose dedicated leadership, service have left an enduring mark on our department and our community. In the fire service, no one serves forever. Each generation passes its knowledge, traditions, and values to the next. Captain Caldwell, throughout your career, you have done more than fight fires and answer calls. You have taught, mentored, coached, and guided countless firefighters who now carry forward the lesson you share. Your legacy will continue long after the final shift because the firefighters you trained and influenced will carry your example every day with them. At its core, the fire service is about protecting people. Your career has been dedicated to not only the emergency response, but also to prevention, education, and building a safer community. Throughout your efforts, families have learned how to protect themselves. Children have learned how the importance of fire safety, and citizens have gained confidence in their environment. You've helped create a department that our community can be proud of, and a community that is proud of its firefighters. As you retire, you leave behind more than memories. You leave behind a legacy of leadership, service, mentorship, and community pride. Like a leather fire bucket passed from hand to hand, your influence will continue to move forward into every firefighter's lives that you touch. On behalf of the department, the community, and all those that you have served and had the privilege to serve beside you, thank you for your years of dedicated service, and may you enjoy your well-deserved retirement. Thank you, Rick. So on the 12th, this Friday, the public is welcome to the firehouse at 1 o'clock to join us in I think everyone wants to say something.
Real quickly, I just want to thank the citizens of Skowhegan for allowing me to be a part of this great community. I've been blessed. The story's way too long, but it's very coincidental that I ended up here to have my career as a full-time firefighter. I'm just very grateful and thankful. And we'll continue to serve on the golf course the best I can. So take care and thank you.
This year, we'll be doing the Spirit of America Award. It's been awarded to Bob Gaines. Okay. 2026. So he gave me Spirit of America Foundation tribute honors Bob Gaines for commendable community service. Be it resolved by the town of Skowhegan Board of Selectmen as follows, whereas Bob Gaines exemplifies the meaning of volunteerism as presented by the Spirit of America. Bob Gaines is a volunteer on the Kilburn Park Commission, where he has led infrastructure improvements, including ambulatory and handicap entrance off Dinsmore Street. Whereas Bob Gaines has helped to repair gazebos and band shells, facilitated facilitated the bearing of electric conduit for beautification safety. Whereas Bob Haynes has removed down trees and established attractive year-round entrances. Whereas Bob Haynes actively manages local youth and volunteer groups to maintain trail infrastructure and preserve historic views. Whereas Bob Haynes has given detailed expert testimony before the Maine Legislature Department of Environmental Protection regarding protection of Maine's removed mountain and watershed assets. Whereas Bob Haynes serves as a board member and long-term steward of Pierce Pond Watershed Trust. Whereas Bob Haynes is lobbying and collaborating with national partners to secure renewed federal funding mechanisms for scenic byways across the United States. Whereas Bob Haynes actively maintains his own historic Skowhegan residents and collaborates on local cultural and heritage preservation efforts. Be it resolved by the town of Skowhegan's Board of Selectmen that Bob Haynes is hereby recognized for the outstanding achievements and honors he has brought upon this community with the 2026 Skowhegan Spirit of America Foundation tribute.
Greetings. In the name of the state of Maine, you are hereby requested to notify and warn the voters of the town of Skowhegan in said county and state qualified by law to vote in town affairs, to meeting the Opera House in Skowhegan Municipal Building in said town on Monday, the 8th of June, A.B. 2026 at 7 o'clock in the evening, to transact all business as herein enumerated in the articles of the town warrant, and to notify and warn said voters to meet in the council room in the Skowhegan Municipal Building in said town on Tuesday, the 9th of June, 8th, 2026, then and there to act upon Article 2 by secret ballot as set out below. The polling hours before, therefore, to be from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. So I am accepting nominations for moderator.
We left and Lexi.
So Randy has made the motion and Matt has the second. Do I have any others? Do I have Jean has ceased and Randy has second. I will be coming around to collect votes. Next. Okay. Okay, so you have 4 votes for Ken, so you come forward so I can state your hands. I state your name. Do you swear? Let us put the Constitution God's United States. And of this state. I shall continue. A citizen thereof. So help God. I state your name. You swear. That I will faithfully discharge. To the best of my ability. The duties incumbent upon me. As an moderator of the meeting. According to the Constitution. And the law of the state. So help God. Yes. It sounds like awesome.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming out on this beautiful evening. I just want to go over some rules and guidelines. I'll be as brief as I can. First off, we have some employees and department heads of the town who are not residents, and they need the town meeting's permission to vote. So would someone make a motion? Well, I'm sorry. Point of order. Are we allowed to make vote? Speak.
To speak.
Speak. I said vote, I meant speak, I'm sorry. So we need permission to allow non-resident employees and department heads to speak to the body. And John, you made that motion? Yes, who made the motion? I made the motion. Okay. And it was seconded by. Okay. All those in favor of the motion, please raise your hand. All those opposed, the motion carries. Number two, only speak when you were recognized by the moderator. I ask that everyone listen to what others have said or ask to avoid redundancy. As we do have a very long list of warrant articles, my intent is to give everyone an opportunity to be heard. But please be mindful of what has been said before you and be as brief as you can. As always, be respectful and courteous. I will not entertain negative motions, such as I move that article, whatever be going down, that will be ruled out of order. If you look at the warrant articles, we go to pledge of allegiance tonight. We will do that in one moment, sir. Thank you for pointing that out. If you look at the money articles, beginning with Article 3 and moving on down, a specific amount is stated in the article. Those are called cap articles. And under Maine law, the amount cannot be exceeded. So the amount that's in there cannot be exceeded. But keep in mind that the recommendations from either the budget committee or the select board are not a part of the body of the article, and they are just recommendations. So you have two options. You can make a motion to approve the article as written, which means that you are making a motion for the amount that's listed in the article. Or you can make a motion to approve that article for any other amount, but it must be less than what's in the article. Once the motion is made, you will have a seconded, you will have the opportunity to ask questions, state your opinion, address your questions to me, and we will get someone to answer your question. Then we will vote. We will use a show of hands. If that's too close to call, we can do a standing vote. We can divide the room. We can do a written ballot if it becomes necessary.
There's a quick question in regards to the article. It looks like around 35, with some reference to taking money from the downtown tip. I picked up a booklet last week. There's no reference to the downtown tip describing the purpose of that tip in booklet. So I didn't know if we were going to do a presentation about what that original purpose that they approved that tip for. And then I have a further question.
Well, can I suggest that you bring those up when that specific article comes before the body?
Sure, I think it would have been helpful to have the information book and thoughts like that. It's the purpose was.
Okay. After a motion is made and seconded, a motion can be made to amend the motion. If a motion to amend is seconded, we will proceed to debate and questions about the amendment, motion to amend. We will only deal with one motion to amend at a time. I will not allow a motion to amend to the motion to amend. It is way too confusing. So once again, we will move for the articles, and for the money articles or the spending articles, we need a motion to either approve the article as written or a motion that the article be approved with a specific amount, which must be less than what appears in print. Now moving on to Article 2, would someone make a motion to postpone action on Article 2 until 7 a.m. on June 9th? Moved, seconded. Any questions?
Let's do a pledge of allegiance.
Thank you for reminding. Okay, all those in favor of the motion to postpone action on Article 2, please raise your hand. All those opposed? And now we will do the pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Article 3. The city of the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $2,896,668 for general government. Been moved and seconded as written. Questions or comments? All those in favor of Article 3 as written, raise your hand. All those opposed? The motion carries. Article 4. The city of the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $2,922,771 for the police department. Moved and seconded to approve Article 4 as written. Questions or comments? All those in favor of the motion, raise your hand. All those opposed, the motion carries. Article 5. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $1,927,130 for fire department. Moved and seconded to approve Article 5 as written. Anybody have any questions or comments? All those in favor of the motion, raise your hand. All those opposed, the motion carries. Article 6. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $73,100 for public safety building. Moved and seconded to approve Article 6 as written. Does anybody have any questions or comments? Yes.
Just wondering, wanted to, read up on what that money would be.
Chief, you want to answer that or?
So that's gonna take care of any of the high maintenance stuff, our generators, our heating, our air, our windows, our wall, all that stuff. That's what it's for. Maintain maintenance up there. Very good work. Thank you. Sure.
Any other questions or comments on Article 6?
I heard it. Nobody heard it.
Nobody heard the answer?
All this talk.
The question was, what is the $73,100 going to be spent on? And I won't repeat Chief's answer. I'll let him do that. Do you have a microphone, Andy?
It takes care of the maintenance of the building, from our generators, heating, air, windows, walls, all that stuff. That's what we utilize to maintain the building itself.
If somebody has a question or comment, please wait for the microphone.
Anybody else have any questions or comments about Article 6? Yes, sir.
Is this a guaranteed amount to spend, or can we save some somewhere?
We do not look to spend any money. We look to maintain the building itself. So as things arise, we take care of it, maintain it. But we're not out there making a list of things to add on, to spend money. That money's there for repair.
Anybody else have any questions or comments?
I just want to make a point that this is a decrease in that budget. Around $8,000. So it's $8,000 since last year. And I'm sure the chief made efforts to do it as efficiently as possible.
Other questions or comments? All those in favor of Article 6 as written, please raise your hand. All those opposed, the motion carries. Article 7, see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $721,262 for other protection. Moved and seconded to approve Article 7 as written. Questions, comments?
What is that for?
Yes,
Could you explain what that is used for?
here's your microphone, sir.
Could you also explain what that is used
All right.
So the majority of that is for the hydrants, for the fire protection. And street lights.
Hydrants and streetlights.
The biggest method for this year is the increase in the water utility costs. They're gonna go up 10%. And it's about $60,000. Other than that, it would have been fine.
Other questions or comments? All those in favor of Article 7 as written, please raise your hand. All those opposed, the motion carries. Article 8, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $82,315 for general assistance. Moved and seconded to approve Article 8 as written. Questions, comments? Yes, sir.
Want more detail in what this represents?
Sure.
The detail is on page 28.
Renee, would you like to speak to this, please?
So this is, for any expenses that, presently come in and will be purchased for, as rent, electricity, very unit, food, heat. Those are personal household items. As well as, the employee that working in that office.
As well as what?
The employee that was working in that office.
Okay. Any other questions or comments on Article 8? All those in favor of Article 8 as written, please raise your hand. All those opposed, the motion carries. Article 9, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $1,092,362 for wastewater and pollution control. Moved and seconded to approve Article 9 as written. Does someone have any questions or comments? All those in favor of Article 9 as written, please raise your hand. All those opposed, the motion carries. Article 10, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $1,060,281 for solid waste and recycling. Moved and seconded to approve Article 10 as written. Questions or comments? Yes, Randy?
Thank you. I don't know if anyone noticed that this budget's been up by $250,000 on Article 48. I just did the chance to rectify this, and I hope everyone will vote positive. This budget was cut to penalize the people that won't recycle. We have an audience that can control that. If it's important. And, I'm sorry. I shake badly, not nervous, I have tremors, so I'm sorry. By penalizing the people that have policies, there's not first in this room that won't be affected. If you have a hall, you're gonna pay more money. I'd say about 35% more in your hall bill. It's just ridiculous. You know, you don't penalize the good people because people are violating the law. You go after people that violate the law. And, we need to rectify it without question. You know, the police department, they catch one speeder on Madison Avenue, but they don't stop everyone on Madison Avenue and give them tickets. And, this shouldn't be the case. We should rectify this on Article 48. And, if they're gonna cut a budget like this, they ought to have public hearings for the people get involved. Especially when it comes to service, there's not another budget in this book that can cut any way you need, not one. I think the biggest cut that's in this budget is $8,000, one department. Take $250,000 out, destroy a program that's ongoing for 25 years. Thank you.
Thank you, Randy. Anybody want to respond? Yes.
I'd like to address this item as well, because this is a substantial cut. And the background on the thinking here is that we have received a couple of very educational workshops from our transfer station superintendents and the on the costs and increases that we can expect down the road for our tipping fees. So if you look at page 37 in your blue book, and you look at the line item for disposal costs, you'll see that those disposal costs are going up and up and up. And we know that our contract with the Boardwalk facility for dumping our waste is pre-contracted to go up in rate every year by incremental amounts. In 2025, we paid $73 a ton. In 2026, we'll pay $76.50 a ton. We know that that number is going to go up 80, 84, and it's going to keep climbing. We're already pre-contracted for those amounts. This line item for disposal costs, Cindy has educated us that about 75% of that number is commercially hauled waste. So we're talking dumpsters from businesses, apartments, organizations in town that use dumpsters. 75% of that figure is commercial waste. So our businesses are getting dumpsters removed. It goes to Norwich Walk, and on a per pound basis, the taxpayer is picking up the dollar for that. Cindy educated us that we are the only community in the state of Maine of about 17 different communities that picks up the tab for this. No other communities of our size pay for this. So there was also a functional problem with recycling in the dumpsters. I've experienced this in my health business. I know many others have. That it encourages the mixing of recyclables and regular trash. Because you cannot divide that dumpster in half and say, I'm gonna put my cardboard on one end. Please take the cardboard to Skowhegan to earn money on that, and then take my waste to Norwich Walk. That's too many trips. It's not efficient. So while I was crossing the street yesterday, I saw a great example of this with a dumpster truck with cardboard boxes flailing out the back as it rides out of Skowhegan. We are dumping a lot of recyclables in those dumpsters straight over Norwich Walk, and we're picking up the tab for that. Unlike many other communities of our size, 25% of our disposal costs are household waste. And as many of you know, we pay our $10 for 2 years of access to transfer station where we can take our recyclables, which are worth money for the state of Maine. Cindy can speak to this as well. I'll keep rolling, Cindy, if that's okay. The state has a guidance that they are looking for municipalities in the state of Maine to reduce their waste by 50% by keeping 50% of the trash out of the volume by way of recyclables. To project how much more that could raise for the county of Skowhegan takes a little more information that we're going to need to gather around what is the average percentage of our waste stream that is paperboard, cardboard, glass, metal, you name it. But the schedules of what we are paid for those things are clearly known. We could project what this town could do in terms of better reducing our waste stream. So who will be penalized by this cut? What we are doing in this suggested cut is passing on the cost of waste and the incentive to recycle to the businesses that are creating that waste. Right now, there is no natural consequence to not recycling for businesses that use commercial haulers and dumpsters and account for 75% of this charge. Taxpayers are picking up the tab for. So our decision in the day-long budget and select board meeting at the rec center as part of the deliberation of this budget was that it's time to do something about this. Our transfer station has been educating us about this for a couple of years. Ideally, we have a feasibility study that can map out lots of options. But the first step we can take in ripping off the Band-Aid to do the right thing by way of recycling is to give ourselves 6 months of covering this cost, but a 6-month runway to start to communicate that this will be different. Now, if I were a commercial hauler in Skowhegan, I would reassess what it cost me to cover a service area, and I might have to adjust my costs. But many of our commercial haulers that have licenses to operate in Skowhegan also serve surrounding communities. If those surrounding communities are not picking up the tab for the tipping fees, we're subsidizing that. So the commercial hauler has to look at this as the region they serve and make the rates work, even if it means increasing costs for businesses. Now, for businesses that want to do the right thing, and I appreciate, Cindy, that you have named some of them in your 2025 report to the state. There are businesses in this town that are doing the right thing, separating the trash and recycling. It may cost a little more to have 2 dumpsters, but you can feed them less because they're spending them in different places. So I will leave it there for people that have questions, but this number reflects a 6-month ramp time to communicate a different way of doing business in commercial haulers so we can make this shift. You will see later on in this agenda that there were cold feet about this change when it came to the select board for final approval of this warrant. And there will be a proposal later on in this agenda about how we spend our surplus funds. And so there is a proposal to reserve $250,000 from our surplus to mitigate the pinch of this if it takes any longer to make this change. But with the goal that, again, in our budget workshop for the select board, we all felt unanimously that it was time to start making a change and we put this reduction in.
Other questions or comments?
Can I just say something really quick?
Yes, please.
So when I was gathering all this data, I taken a
Could you identify yourself,
Cindy
please?
Chipper, solid waste management facility supervisor. Sorry. So when every year as department heads, we're told, gotta cut the budget, gotta cut the budget, gotta cut the budget. And unfortunately, we looked at our budgets and a lot of us are at the bare minimum as it is, unless we start cutting people, employees or services. So what I did was start putting together just data. Okay, I put together pictures, I put together data, providing a lot of numbers. My goal with the facility is to get those numbers swapped around. So we're recycling more than we're burning. That's my goal. We can handle the amount of cycles, by processing a cycle, you'll be able to get wonderful grant funding for equipment or stuff like that, just by recycling. We get paid for recycles. No, it's never gonna be fully covering the costs unless every person in this town recycled every piece that they could, which would be my dream. But no, it does cost the money to recycle. But when I started with the town almost 14 years ago, that's what I was doing. The right thing to do. Okay. Landfills in Maine, you can look up, DEP, talk to anybody from DEP, they're running out of space. Faster than they can imagine. One I know of has about 2 years and hasn't been approved for expansion. Another one, 12 years, which is gonna fly right by. And then they're gonna have to look at, if we're not gonna open any landfills, I think we're gonna be shipping it out of state, which is gonna be an enormous cost. So my goal is just increase the recycling. It helps it down whenever you throw back garbage in the dumpster, it costs. Or you throw it down the chute of a compactor, it costs them. I understand, and I really would like to get a lot of public input on this, so I am hoping that just as a cushion, if we make any final decisions and big changes, we do set up some public meetings, do some public input. I want to hear ideas on how we can reduce these costs. So like Randy said, there is an article coming up in the budget as far as splitting of that 250,000 back into disposable as a cushion. It's not coming out of taxation, we're coming out of surplus, but if we don't start looking at the big picture, I mean, can you imagine paying over $1 million in public coverage? So that's my goal. Any questions?
Yes, Randy, do you have a question?
I do. Hello.
No.
There we go. I agree with anything Cindy just said. Like what we should walk that out, but you just don't take giant steps at a time. You take baby steps at a time. This is a giant step without doing a whole lot of research. A couple of years ago, or 3 years ago, the town stepped up to the base and hired a new full-time solid waste man. And she has fair salary. That's when the changes should have began, and it will begin. No, you just say, up to the tax money, $250,000, and hope that's gonna make things better. And if you think this is all commercial property, don't believe it. It's not perfect. There's many residential property, many residential property in here, more so than there is commercial. The idea is important. We have an audience in place, not willing to work. We should try to do that to begin with instead of penalizing every taxpayer in this room because it's not the right thing to do. And in the numbers to prove that, I guarantee you. And I have a little experience since I brought this facility of 20 years. So I know what I'm talking about.
Thank you, Randy. Anybody else? There's a motion on the floor to approve Article 10 as written. Yes, sir.
I had a question just for clarification that if this passes as it's written, then anybody that has commercial pickup, whether it's a dumpster or a couple of trash cans in your road, can expect to see an increase from your offer. Is that correct?
That would depend on the vote of the select board. They are the ones that make that decision. And if you look at the budget, I had put in the regular amount. When we went to budget meeting, a lot of the folks were like, we need to start doing something, stop meeting and stuff like that. As of right now, everything is still the same, where the town of Skokie still pays for all the tipping fees for trash that's generated from that Skokie. If anything was to change, it would have to go to the support of the select board or both.
But if we pass this budget with reduction in effect, commercial. That
Unless there is a vote on the select board to stop paying for those tipping fees, we are still responsible for those tipping fees, Scott. So looking at our current budget that we're in right now, we hit that mark right around February of this year. At just over $250,000 less. So if nothing, if that changes, then we would run out of money to pay for trash disposal. And that's why there is an article further down, when you guys decide what to do with the surplus, whether it's taxation or if you split it like you have in the past, all field and stuff like that. That would be 250,000 back into the disposal budget.
And one follow-up, if this article fails, because of this reduction, then you're up, have to have a special town meeting. But you're
Correct.
basically,
Those bills come every 2 weeks, no matter what.
And just to remind the body that you cannot exceed the amount that's in Article 10.
And that's why there's a separate warrant article when it comes to the surplus.
Any other questions? Yes, sir.
I just want to know, what years ago, I went to the planning board and mentioned about getting the fees up to the size of all. It was mentioned again the other night at town meeting, select meeting, that the haulers are getting away with murder. They're not making their customers recycle. So they're picking up and we're paying the whole freight, which isn't right. They do the national average of recyclables person or family produces, and we should be touching the private haulers, that percentage that will force them to make their customers recycle. But obviously Sydney not doing it and not able to do it. So I think the rules, the selectmen set something up, is just to be, at the end of the day, there's no private hauler going out to take the recycling stuff there. No, I mean, cardboard you said loud, but it's not when the customer takes it out. So the big is, so let's put the responsibility to the haulers. The customer recycle, they have the opportunity to go up to the dump and get a sticker, but they don't. So let them pay. And then when they recycle, they're charging for recycle, they won't put someone out to pay for it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else have any questions or comments? Article 10 is before you as written. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor of Article 10 as written, please raise your hand. All those opposed? The motion carries. Article 11. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $897,446 for public works, summer roads maintenance. Questions or comments? All those in favor of Article 11 as written, raise your hand. All those opposed, the motion carries. Article 12. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $1,092,333 for public works, winter roads maintenance. Moved and seconded to approve Article 12 as written. Questions or comments? All those in favor of Article 12 as written, raise your hand. All those opposed, the motion carries. Article 13. See if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $320,500 for public works, vehicle maintenance. Moved and seconded to approve Article 13 as written. Questions, comments? Is your hand up, sir? No? All those in favor of Article 13 as written, please raise your hand. All those opposed, the motion carries. Article 14. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $124,422 for the care of cemeteries. Been moved and seconded to approve Article 14 as written. Anybody have a question or a comment? All those in favor of Article 14 as written, raise your hand. Opposed? Motion carries. Article 15. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $807,335 for parks and recreation. Moved and seconded to approve Article 15 as written. Questions? Comments? All those in favor of Article 15 as written, please raise your hand. All those opposed, the motion carries. To see if the town, Article 16, to see if the town will raise and appropriate the sum of $1,896,481 for capital expenditures, debt retirement. Our motion to make to approve Article 16 as written. Questions, comments? All those in favor of Article 16 as written, raise your hand. All those opposed, the motion carries. Article 17. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $380,000 for capital expenditures, capital reserve funds for the pollution control plans. Moved in second to approve Article 17 as written. Does anybody have any questions or comments? Yes, John. It's coming.
My question is, how much of this is for current capital expenditures? And how much is for capital reserve funds, so-called sinking fund, that we use to save money in future legal expenses?
So this is for ongoing projects right now. Our current balance is just over $1 million from capital reserves, spread between different accounts. We are putting aside for vehicle replacement. We are putting aside for sewer collection system upgrades. We are putting aside for new equipment. And then building maintenance, equipment maintenance, repair, equipment replacement, information technology improvements, sewer system master plan, and pump station upgrades will be used, not all of this year, but it's for ongoing projects. In those accounts.
Any other questions or comments? All those in favor of Article 17 is written, raise your hand, please. All those opposed, the motion carries. Article 18. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $55,000 for capital expenditure, capital reserve funds for the recreation department. It's been moved and seconded to approve Article 18 as written. Questions or comments? All those in favor of Article 18 as written, please raise your hand. All those opposed, the motion carries. Article 19. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $75,500 for capital expenditures, capital reserve funds for the municipal building. Moved and seconded to approve Article 19 as written. Questions or comments? All those in favor of Article 19 as written, please raise your hand. All those opposed, motion carries. Article 20, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $86,000 for capital expenditures, capital reserve funds for the solid waste department. A motion has been made and seconded to approve Article 20 as written. Questions or comments? All those in favor of Article 20 as written, please raise your hand. All those opposed, the motion carries. Article 21, see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $83,500 for capital expenditures, capital reserve funds for the police department. Moved and seconded to approve Article 21 as written. Questions or comments? Yes, sir.
Why wouldn't that be included in Article 4?
Chief, you want to answer?
This covers multitudes in our capital reserve fund, from cruiser replacement to our canine program, to equipment, to training, to drug forfeiture. There's a bunch of different categories that fall into that. What it's looking at right now is every year we look to replace cruisers. We update our visual and audio equipment from within the town, where we put our cameras up and replace the old ones with the broken ones with that. It also includes audio replacement, which is required by law. We made it from municipal expired law. All falls in that one category line for something that's designation. We use it as needed. So if it doesn't need to be used, it rolls over in the next.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments regarding Article 21? Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. I'm sorry. I really can't see that well, so I apologize. Here comes the microphone.
I think that new bike that was donated to the police department is a pretty nice idea. So that's a long cyclist. I saw that bike and I thought it wouldn't be a bad idea to afford the police department an actual bike that you could ride around from. The bike that you is kind for looks, but it's not a bad idea. Most of the bike in town that a police officer can ride on.
I'm welcome to take your donation.
I think it's just something to think about in terms of going into fund for the future.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Anybody else have any questions or comments on Article 21? All those in favor of Article 21 is written, raise your hand. All those opposed, the motion carries. Article 22, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $202,000 for capital expenditures, capital reserve funds for public works equipment. Moved and seconded to approve Article 22 as written. Questions or comments? All those in favor of Article 22 as written, please raise your hand. All those opposed, the motion carries. Article 23, see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $1,290,455 for capital expenditures, capital reserve funds for public works, roads, and sidewalks. Moved and seconded to approve Article 23 as written. Questions or comments? Yes, Randy?
Question for Jason. This is that keeping we keeping up with what needs to be done in town.
Say that again.
Good. I just wanted this teach you that, are we staying ahead of the game or are we falling on
We're falling behind.
Yeah,
So we try to stay 7 miles, we're in 5 miles. I'd like to be 7 miles.
I really think we need to address that. I know you're doing your CL off.
It's very expensive, it's good paving, and we're trying to stay on top of it.
Thank you, Jason.
Yes, sir. You have a question? Comment?
Yeah, just as we're planning ahead with the roads here, are we going to look to make sure that that can be done up the next year?
Always do.
Well, question, Court Street is my question. Because they're putting a new
Yes.
gas line right down Court Street.
Just they don't pave center line. It's in one part, so they don't pave center line all the way to the edge, just like we put it in.
Well,
Just like random.
excellent, all the way across. Okay.
Any other questions or comments on Article 23? All those in favor of Article 23 as written, please raise your hand. All those opposed, the motion carries. Article 24. To see if the town will vote to accept and carry forward in a separate accounts sums that may be received from the State Department of Transportation local road assistance program, estimated at $218,368. It's been moved and seconded to approve Article 24 as written. Any questions? In the back, do you have a question, sir? Comment? No? Anybody else have a question or comment on Article 24? All those in favor of Article 24 as written, please raise your hand. All those opposed, the motion carries. Article 25. See if the town will vote to authorize the select board to extend the amounts coded in Articles 23 and 24 of the capital improvement program of Public Works Road and Sidewalks account for the town's share of the following proposed projects: paving work plan from Olympus Road, Hilton Hill Road, Glenview Drive, East Ridge Road, Tom Road, Transfer Station Drive, and the Highway Garage parking lot. It's been moved and seconded to approve Article 25 as written. Any questions or comments? All those in favor of Article 25 as written, please raise your hand. All those opposed, the motion carries. Article 26, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $309,000 for capital expenditures, capital reserve funds for the fire department. It's been moved and seconded to approve Article 26 as written. Questions or comments? All those in favor of Article 26 as written, raise your hand. All those opposed, raise your hand. Motion carries. Article 27. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $20,000 for capital expenditures, capital reserve funds for administration. It's been moved and seconded to approve Article 27 as written. Does anybody have any questions or comments? All those in favor of Article 27 as written, please raise your hand. All those opposed, the motion carries. Article 28. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $15,000 for capital expenditures, capital reserve funds for assessment. It's been moved and seconded to approve Article 28 as written. Questions or comments? All those in favor of Article 28 as written, please raise your hand. All those opposed, the motion carries. Article 29. See if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $7,000 for capital expenditures, capital reserve funds for economic and community development. Moved and seconded to approve Article 29 as written. Questions, comments? All those in favor of Article 29 as written, please raise your hand. All those opposed, the motion carries. Article 30, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $35,000 for capital expenditures, capital reserve funds for cemeteries. Moved and seconded to approve Article 30 as written. Any questions or comments? All those in favor of Article 30 as written, please raise your hand. All those opposed, motion carries. Article 31. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $30,000 for capital expenditures, capital reserve funds for public works buildings. To move and second to approve Article 31 is written. Questions? Comments? All those in favor of Article 31 is written, please raise your hand. All those opposed, the motion carries. Article 32. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $5,000 for capital expenditures, capital reserve funds for streetlights. So moved and seconded to approve Article 32 as written. Anybody have any questions or comments? All those in favor of Article 32 as written, please raise your hand. All those opposed, the motion carries. Article 33, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $10,000 for capital expenditures, capital reserve funds for the public safety building. Moved and seconded to approve Article 33 as written. Any questions or comments? Yes.
I just wanted to explain that the original request that come before us was for 50,000. And there was agreement to put before you a $10,000 recommendation. That is $40,000 was in that requested budget originally for the old fire station. And we had unanimous approval at our budget workshop that we would like to see the town come before the TIP advisory committee and the select board to ask for infrastructure monies from that fund instead.
Any other questions or comments? All those in favor of Article 33 as written, please raise your hand. All those opposed, the motion carries. Article 34. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $208,000 for Skowhegan free public library.
So moved. Hey.
Who's the second?
Yes.
It's been moved and seconded to approve Article 34 as written. Any questions or comments? Yes, sir.
Why so much?
Okay, I think everybody heard that. Who wants to answer that question? Linda? Linda, here's the microphone, not that you need one.
Years cultivating that boy. That isn't the number of what we need. Just so you know, we have renovated that building. We're doing $1.5 billion. We never came to town and asked for. It was donation only. We have staff. We have things that the government expects us to do. We open that door 22,000 times a week. That is how much you can get. We have telehealth for everybody, and that's free. We have popular programs. Parents can bring their children in for daycare. We are not responsible for that, of course, but they can come, spend their time. And we have movies to rent. We have a lot of free stuff from infants to 90. We use that library, and I'm telling you, that library is what makes us a wonderful community here. People ask, when they're moving into town, they call the chamber, they call Main Street, and they say, what do you have to offer? And you say library. And the little store that we're running downtown that supports the library, people will come in and buy things, and then they'll make donations. I mean, we're working hard to keep those doors open to provide this community with just a touch of class and welcoming for everybody. Yeah.
Any other questions or comments? Yes, sir. Go ahead. Yes.
Yes, thank you, Linda. But I'm gonna be here till that. So when I sat on that select board for years, it was brought forward that the acquisition of the director, they would be raising their own funds through grants and fundraising to reduce their requests. That request hasn't been. It's gone up, in fact, that's in the Senate. Library is open, according to their website, 260 days a year, not counting holidays. The $208,000 request equals $800 a day of funding for every day that they're open. That seems like an awful lot of money to me. I'm not against the library. I'm against their funding request.
Thank you, Todd. Yes, ma'am.
My name is Janet Mayhew, and I involved the Shelton Library on Wednesdays from getting up to 10:30 to 3 o'clock. If you would like to see all the attributes of the library, including some history. I invite you to come. There are things that people cannot do at home. They don't have internet. You know, other people are trying to get rents and they need no place in town, you don't have a paper puppet, things that we don't have in town, the library is picked up. So, yes, fees go up because need.
Yes, ma'am.
Hi, I'm chair of library committee, for the Bloomfield County Presidents. And I'm going to be blunt and say, I'm beating the dead horse on this library director ridiculous. So, is it cutting out? Okay. I wasn't on board when this started, but I will tell you, this isn't better. The library director position. Yes. Oh, okay, sorry. The library director position is a full position in itself. Sure, we can hire another grant writer to the tune of $75,000. As many of you who are on Rockets know, we can get grants for operational costs. So you can cut the budget if that's what we choose. We can hire one to offset that budget cut, that's all it will do. I can also say that we are fortunate as a town to have a privately owned building open to the public. Because if this were a municipal library, I can tell you the budget would be $400,000 to $600,000. So I think 208, and for us to raise the remainder through fundraising and grants that we do, we're very fortunate. Because what is offered, regardless of days, is something that I mean is free to everyone. It's the one cooling place in the summer, the one heating place in the winter. We'll be carrying people away.
So 208, in all honesty, I'd like to request 308, but we'll settle for 208 the rest ourselves.
Thank you.
Okay, I just want to make a comment, and I make it every year, and I'm not preaching, but let's remember, every November when we have an election, these people from these organizations are out in the cold weather because Neil will not let them come into the municipal building to gather their signatures. So they are getting the required signatures to have this put on the warrant, and they are having people that step out after they vote and they sign. So your taxpayers that are not here tonight, they have signed and they've gotten the necessary signatures for this to be on the warrant. And so they have spoken and they're not here tonight. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, Jeff?
I just want to take this opportunity to thank the staff, board members of the library, trustees for doing more and more to make that library a great place. That library has more and more programming year after year. You see Sam running around this room. He enjoys the library. Sam's grandparents do at the library. Sam's parents do at the library. I appreciate everything that they do. And every year we have the same debate. And I'm from Good County, so let's say do that.
Anybody else? Yes, there's a motion to move the question. Is there a second? There's no debate on this motion. All those in favor of moving the question, raise your hand. All those opposed? The motion carries. Before you is Article 34. A motion has been made and seconded to approve it as written. All those in favor of the motion, please raise your hand. All those opposed? The motion passes. Now, these next 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 articles, anybody who's going to make a motion, you need to include in your motion what the source of the funding is going to be. There are 2 sources. It can be from taxation or it can be from the downtown TIF. But we do- Because it didn't mention,
No cap on 30 more.
there's no TIF on 30,
How much warrant it is?
not the warrant I have, John.
So we send out 2 different warrants?
I don't know. I don't work here.
I have a paper warrant that I printed off that the town had published. And it says from TIF to the library.
Well, there may have been an error somewhere along the line, but the fact is that Article 34 was approved. The funds come from taxation. The next 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 articles, we need a motion that not only specifies the amount or the article as written, but we need a specification of where the funds are coming from.
Yeah, so there's 2 versions. Calculation. One was finalized on May 26th. So we had a couple of books of edition come back. And so I have them all.
Here you go.
Sorry. There was 2 versions. I have one that you probably have. The final warrant article list was secured on May 26th. Select board meeting. There was 3 or 4 books that we had to go back to. And so what we help this long week, and probably on the website now, what's the current version I forget about me.
Article 35, to see if the town will vote on it. Yes,
Yes, wonder I think it's now, should ask some questions I have.
well, can we get a motion on the floor first? Thank you. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $15,000 for Coburn Park Commission.
Move 15,000 from taxation.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve $15,000 for Coburn Park Commission from taxation. Questions or comments? Yes. Yeah. Go ahead.
I'm just looking for some clarification. I'm just sort of uncomfortable with us using TIF funds in this manner without a broader explanation.
Well, the motion on the floor now is to fund Coburn from taxation. Who did the second on this? Are there other questions or comments? Yes. Who wants, ma'am, do you want to speak?
No, she was the second. She was raising her hand.
Oh,
She was
okay.
the second.
Does anybody else want to speak? Yes, sir.
I guess my question would be is how much money is in that TIF? Who actually can use the TIF, what you can put it for? And where is the TIF fully coming from? Is it just the downtown or where? I just want to fully explain.
Well, and
I understand that it's been a motion for taxation, but we are on that right now. So
I'm going to rule your question out of order. If we
I
have a
can't make an
motion,
amendment then?
if we have a motion to use funds from the TIF, then I think it would be relevant at that time. You certainly can make a motion to amend it if you wish.
Don't want to amend it, but I don't know where that money's coming from and how it all works.
Okay, then I will abide by your request, sir. Who wants to do that? Go ahead, Emily.
I'm happy to give some background on this item. When it comes to community service organizations, I chair your downtown TIF advisory committee at the moment. And so I know these groups well in the state contract for the kinds of projects that we're allowed to spend the downtown TIF monies on. At our budget workshop, we took a look at the community requests and organizations for whom their activities squarely qualify in the downtown TIF rubrics. Jeff had asked earlier where to find those rubrics. Those are all on the town website. You go to downtown TIF Skowhegan, town of Skowhegan, you will find the scoring rubrics and scoring worksheet there, which is your shorthand on what these allowable projects are. So where do you see a recommendation on these warrants? The select board and the budget committee recommended partial funding through the TIF really is a compromise position. There are not many things that this select board disagrees on when we come meeting together. But this is one of them. And there is a majority of this board that would like to see the downtown TIF funds used more frequently on infrastructure projects for qualifying expenses that help to reduce taxation. So if you choose to approve any of these community service organization funding models that are partially funded by the TIF, you can think of it as it's a short-term relief from raising these funds through taxation. We are not suggesting that we want organizations to ask for less from taxation. We're trying to use the funds that we have for allowable items. So, for example, the recommendation around Coburn Park to partially to fund through the downtown TIF is because they squarely qualify. We can spend the downtown TIF funds on the maintaining, creating, updating of public parking, green spaces, sidewalks, crosswalks, lighting, drainage, sewer. We can also spend the money on the betterment of the health and welfare of our residents, among several others they qualify. So those rubrics are on the town website. And I have them open here if there are any specific questions as we move forward about how one of these organizations might fall.
John? So he's coming.
All right, there are currently 6 pending applications for TIF grants that are sitting on the table, and haven't been addressed. If we do all of this TIF funding, they will never be addressed because there'll be no money in the current run TIF money available for them. The purpose of the TIF was to make improvements for downtown TIF in the downtown area. Now, a few years ago, that downtown had been extended all the way up to Jewett Street
and up part of North Avenue. But nonetheless, it's still considered part of downtown. There have been many grants for $50,000 to buildings, leave an insurance company, a comic book magazine company, and others like that. The problem I have with this process is that the chairman of the board of selectmen said he believes that because we haven't had audited books for almost 3 years, that we need to maintain a slush fund to reduce taxation by using the money for projects within the downtown that the selectmen believe, this was at a selectmen's meeting, believed to be needed. And the word was indeed slush fund, which struck me hard. My problem with that is these are all projects that we've always funded from taxation. There's no reason to change that. The TIF should continue in the way that it historically has been run. And the town's projects did not go through the TIF assessment from the TIF advisory committee. There are projects out there that are getting 100% metrics. Doesn't seem to matter. No metrics, and they want to fund it through the TIF. I have a serious problem with that.
Thank you. Anybody else? Yeah, go ahead.
I'd like to respond to John. On this study, using the downtown tips for community organizations and services is a legitimate and legal use of tip funds. And then we'll point that out. It's been done in Skowhegan before this one. It was done back in 2016, 2009, and 2016. Main Street Skowhegan was funded through the downtown tip because their services are now which serve the downtown. So there's precedent. Over the last 6 years, though, nearly 90% of downtown tip money has been spent on small business grants. 20 businesses, most of them $1 million. So I believe we need a better balance. I'm not saying to stop, but we need a balance that includes investment in our public infrastructure downtown, for beautification and maintenance, and also we should use it to pay for community organizations that serve the downtown. That's only fair. That's what the funds in the district consists of thousands of residents, many who can't benefit from the TIF because it's only for businesses, but they benefit and the downtown is fixed up. Or they benefit from the community organizations that serve them downtown. So I support small business grants, but they should be held accountable and they need to demonstrate a clear public and a return on investment for the town. And my position is pretty simple. Downtown TIFs should be used in a balanced, transparent, and accountable way that benefits the greatest number of people downtown. And I hope moving forward, the select board and the downtown TIF committee will embrace that balanced approach for the benefit of the whole community.
Yes, okay.
I guess that would a good suggestion be to encourage all these organizations to apply for additional TIF funds on top of what they've already got signatures for to use for specific projects or beautification of downtown. Because I can tell you right now, these are probably going to pay a salary or administrative costs when you fund that through taxation, and then they apply for a TIF grant and TIF funds for $25,000, $15,000, $50,000, and that would be a better use of the TIF funds.
Jeff?
Thank you, Whitney. Thank you, Amber, for the explanation. John Uni brought it up, and I'll bring it up again. But on page 4 of the booklet is a letter from who's normally our auditor. And we don't have an audit for the year ending in 2023, 2024, or 2025. So that's going to give me pause. They're going to redirect money from the tip, use it in a different manner, that may or not be sort of kosher, okay. I know that folks on the board feel this is a okay use, and I have questions in regards to that. One being, it is a state contract, the state provided writing that this was, I guess that has happened. Okay. I think that would be helpful information to share with voters tonight. Would like to see that myself. And then my next question is, your point, Whitney, you talked a lot about infrastructure. If I can get on board with that, I feel like any improvement to downtown, whether it's on private property, or whether it's public infrastructure, benefits us all in this community. Not only just to that field looking, but it draws people to our downtown, gives us a sense of pride. But as we read through this list, a lot of these activities are not infrastructure. A lot of these things are taking place outside of downtown. So that's really where I think.
I just want to say that Amber is the chairperson of the TIF committee, and she thoroughly reviewed each of these organizations and determined what part of their expenses were eligible for the TIF.
Amber?
Just to clarify process, so, our downtown tip was formed in 2006. We have a 30-year runtime on that, so it will expire in 2035. The town body voted to renew the tip halfway through, which is, what the state requires us to do. That state contract does live on the town website under that tip, link. And, the process that is in place with the state contract is that applications will go before a tip advisory committee. The advisory committee represents representatives from specific seats. So there's a seat for the chamber, there's a seat for Main Street, there's a seat that represents business owners, there's a seat Whitney is on our board. So there are specific seats so that we get representative voices at the table. Our recommendation goes to the select board, and ultimately the select board bears the responsibility for approving or denying the recommendation by the TIF advisory committee. So we are purely an advisory committee. Ultimately, the select board is in control of those decisions. And when I say that these are compromised positions, it's because we have a majority of the select board that would like to see the downtown TIF funds used differently. They are not differently, not out of compliance with the state contract. And just to clarify something you said, Jeff, there's lots of ways for us to use downtown TIF funds to invest in infrastructure. However, the state contract does allow for other kinds of expenses. For example, workforce development, it allows for advertising and marketing costs for specific kinds of activities that are very clearly named in the state contract.
Let's see, 1 second, Jeff. Let's see if there's somebody, is there anybody else? Let's go back to you, sir.
I mean, I agree, this TIF should be, as Whitney says, used for all of that, and rather have it go to these organizations as opposed to, an individual business owner doing it that way. So just a clarification of, just a clarification, if we vote this down, if we vote it down, do we reestablish as where we'd like to put it, or where the money would come from? Is it, how do we make it, is moderate, how do we make it so it would be taken out of the TIF, or it have to be amended and done that way?
Somebody would need to make a motion, you could make a motion to amend for the $15,000 to come out of the downtown TIF. If that amendment is approved, then the main motion is now would become 15,000 for Coburn Park Commission out of the downtown TIF. But the main motion would have to be amended.
Then I'd like to make a amendment, please, as coming out of the TIF.
Okay, so is there a second? So there's a motion to amend. The main motion is to raise and appropriate 15,000 for Coburn Park Commission out of taxation. The motion to amend is for the same amount, but for that money to come from the downtown TIF. That motion to amend has been made and seconded. Now we will discuss the motion to amend. Would anybody like to speak to the motion to amend? Jeff?
Thank you. Just a clarifying question. Did the TIF committee itself take this up and make recommendations?
Yes, we did, under a very tight timeline, after the all-day budget session with the budget committee and the select board, where this proposal was raised to use downtown TIF funds to offset community service organization requests. Not an ideal timeline, but we did have time to take this to the TIF committee, where there was I see TIF members in this committee who are welcome to address this. I would say frustration by the pressure to consider funding in this way, but the agreement in the end to designate 190,000 from the available funds. There was that question hadn't been answered yet. Brian, fellow, if you're still here, I know we have the exact number. But that fund sits at about 240, 260 right now.
I would say the 240 number is more accurate.
240 after the March capture, so that pot refills twice a year based on the property tax payments paid in town. So after the March capture, it sits at about 240. So if we designate 190,000 tonight to offset community service organization requests, that still leaves about 50,000 in the pot to take up the applications that come in per usual in the process that's been outlined for a month.
Jeff, did you have a question? Okay. Yes, Linda?
I'm not sure, but I think this TIF money is finite money. So let's say we do it now for these nonprofits, I call them nonprofits. What happens next year? When we come back, then it's going to be taxation, so then the tax is going to go up. Right? I mean, it's only good for a year, and then it's only good, and if we're lucky, maybe two, if we say we get money twice a year. So I don't see, I guess it'll make us feel good for a minute, but holy cow, get our tax still next year, and it's gonna be there, back up again, these people. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Over the years, we've experienced severe inflation. So what's happened is town costs have gone way up. But the increased value in the TIF fund, that doesn't go into the taxation, that's the original. That goes into the TIF fund. So there's less tax revenue to pay the increased cost of the tenant. That forces the town to raise the taxes on everyone else. And that's the issue. So if you take out 190,000, you're going to increase our budget by 1%. The fact is there's got to be a balanced approach because much of this is almost like double dipping. Some of these services are directly for downtown. They should come out of the downtown tip, not out of the general tax fund. And this goes back to the whole town. We're here for the whole town. We're not just here for the downtown.
But is it not only for a year?
It can go on as long as it satisfies it. So I would say this should continue in a balanced approach where we also take care of small business units, but we also look at the infrastructure. We also consider community service organizations that are doing work.
I guess the question is, will this money in this amount be available every week?
No. It could be. There's enough money coming into the TIF. It's certainly,
All right, what, Amber, did you want to answer that?
Yeah, the way the capture works is we take the original assessed value of property taxes within the designated downtown TIF area in 2006. We measure the increased value of the property value of that area every year. And the amount of that increase is captured back into our downtown TIF pool. So to answer Linda's question, we cannot expect to be able to give 190,000 every year from the downtown TIF pool to offset community service organizations. It's based on how much we capture. We are our ability to do good things in the TIF to develop our economy here in Scotia is based on the increased valuation of properties and all of the state sanctioned activities that have been approved by our voters a few times now, once in 2005 and again in 2016. We have approved what these funds can be spent on, are designed to increase the valuation of our town so that by the 2035, when this is over, We have increased tax value to support what we want to do here in Skowhegan. And it hasn't been mentioned that currently that extra value is sheltered from our share of the county and school contribution for that 30-year period of the state fund.
John?
All right. I'm not a great mathematician, but if you look at the 18,991 proposed for the town budget, it's only 0.9%, not a whole percent, 0.9% of the town budget, which means it would be $99 on a $1,000 tax bill. If you look at our real taxation, that's the 32 million, including the school budget and the county budget. That's 0.58%. So $5.80 on a $1,000 tax bill. Come on, folks. We're not saving any money here. We're playing the shell game.
So it was not my idea to do 190,000. It started off early, where I mentioned the previous town manager that community organizations doing this kind of work for the downtown and expenses related specifically to the downtown should be paid out of that tip fund. So at some point, the money will continue to roll in. And I'm suggesting split it up a third, and a third. So it's being used in a more balanced way. One of the things people don't realize right now is the TIF district is a huge area. And many residents in it are paying much more in taxes because their assessed values have gone up so much in the past 5 years. That money, all that increase you're paying into the downtown thing. The businesses themselves haven't been reunited as much. So the majority of this increase that's coming into the TIF right now is through residents. And then we're putting the money in and we're letting second people decide what to do with it. I just think that there should be more input here. And I believe that we can satisfy everyone, but to have 90% over 6 years of TIF money go to small business owners without any evaluation or examination of how they perform for them is crazy. And we need infrastructure in this country.
Yes, sir.
Just to be clear, I didn't make the amendment to save us money. It's naive to think 100,000 is going to change anything. I made the amendment because I believe that is where that money should be coming from for that.
Yes, ma'am.
My concern is if we make a precedent of taking, community service funding out of the town budget, that it will be harder to get that funding back in the future, and that could be detrimental to the services for our area.
Sir, did you want to say something? Yes. Go ahead. Oh.
Are those $240,000 invested in any kind of bonds? Are they compensating for inflation while they're sitting?
You want to know how the TIF funds are invested? Are they just sitting as cash or are they being invested for a return?
I think that's a Brian and a Gail question, but I believe they're sitting in cash. So the downtown TIF funds, like all our other funds, their capital reserves, they are managed by Bangor Savings Bank. Some of it is in cash, if we need to get it, but others are in bonds. They're federal through Bangor Savings Bank. They manage our portfolio, so they are invested.
Including TIF.
Yes, TIF is in with the capital reserves, correct, yes.
So we have a motion to amend on the floor. It's to have money come out of the downtown TIF instead of taxation for the Coburn Park Commission Does anybody want to speak to the motion to amend? Yes, ma'am.
Just a question, if, the Coburn Park decides they have a project, because I'm assuming the $50,000 satisfies, their general budget. So let's say they, have a project they want to the tune of $25,000, can they come to the TIP, for an application? Or are they forced, no, or they cannot? They can't go back to the TIP committee and ask for, project funds.
So you're talking about outside of this budget process that they need money, can they apply to the?
Correct.
If
Or
I-
you force them to take TIP funds, can they apply for an actual project?
Amber, you?
I think that is an outstanding issue for future discussion. As part of this deliberation, some of my colleagues, at the table, did not want to see double dipping with the TIF. The Downtown TIF Advisory Committee, over the years has seen very gradual, very slowly increasing numbers of applications coming to the TIF Advisory Committee. We consider that to be a good thing because in the early years, no one knew about it. And so it was going into infrastructure projects directed by the town. It was helping to pay, to afford the town's initial commitments to Main Street Scouting. And we wanted to get the word out about the TIF and worked to start telling people about it and getting information on the website. So as we've seen an increasing number of applications, the TIF Advisory Committee set a threshold. I was calling it not a rule, but an appetite for how much we would like to see the cap of any one application be. So we have in the past, for example, seen infrastructure projects for businesses in the downtown, which are squarely allowable in our state contract on the basis that they are renovating and improving infrastructure. They came to us once for 10,000 and our threshold and appetite was no more than 50,000. We have let people reapply if there is a generous pot of money and not enough applications. I stressed over and over with this select board and with, the town when we educate, it's not a pot of money to be saved and held onto for a rainy day or to use John's term a slush fund. We want to deploy these funds so that they do what they are supposed to do and they increase the property tax values in that 30-year period. We only have 30 years to exercise this. To answer your question, I don't know yet. It's going to require more conversation now that there is a strong interest in and voiced opinions on this issue.
Would the commission be barred from an application because they were funded through the TIF?
No, there's nothing in our rubrics, the state contract, or the appetite of the TIF Advisory Committee to bar anyone from applying to act more. Again, the process, however, is that advisory committee forwards a recommendation, and in some cases, we have unanimously recommended funding, and it has not been funded at the select board level because ultimately it is the majority vote of the select board that will make these.
It's been moved and seconded to move the question. Now, this is on the motion to amend. All those in favor of moving a question on the motion to amend, raise your hand. All those opposed, motion carries. So now we're going to vote on the motion to amend. The motion is to raise and appropriate $15,000 to Coburn Park Commission to be funded from the downtown TIF. All those in favor of the motion to amend, raise your hand. All those opposed? Well, we're going to have to count. All right, well, let's do that again. Gail tells me that it wasn't closed. So all those in favor of the motion to amend, raise your hand and please keep them up. We're voting on the motion to amend, which is to take the money from the TIF and not from taxation.
What the article says.
No, the article says recommendation. It's a recommendation. It's not in the body of the article. Okay, those opposed to the motion to amend, raise your hand. I think we should count. Those in favor of the motion to amend, please stand and remain standing until you are counted.
Those of us who the process. Examine.
I'm laying down.
Myself standing up.
Has everybody been counted?
Yes.
Okay, those opposed to the motion to amend, please stand and remain standing until you are counted. Remember, you can only vote once.
Oh, that's not. Yes. Yes. Spicy.
Motion to amend passes with 67 yes and 31 no. So now the main motion has been amended. The main motion is now to raise and appropriate the sum of $15,000 for Coburn Park Commission. The source of funds is the downtown TIF. Anybody else want to say anything regarding the main motion? All those in favor of the main motion, raise your hand. All those opposed, the motion carries. Article 36. See the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $15,000 for Skowhegan History House. Going into the motion. No, I need a source of funding.
Taxation.
I'm sorry, there's a motion made for taxation. Is there a second? Okay, it's been moved and seconded to raise and appropriate the sum of $15,000 for Skowhegan History House from taxation. That motion is on the floor. Would anybody like to speak to it? Yes, sir. What is your name, by the way?
I'm blind. Make motion to amend it to go to the TIF.
Is there a second? Second. It's been moved and seconded to amend the motion to fund the Skowhegan History House out of the downtown TIF. So we're now discussing the motion to amend. Anybody would like to say anything about the motion to amend? Amber?
I'll just give you the justification for why this board felt comfortable in the compromise position to suggest TIF funds, and that is because of the state contract. One of the many eligible uses of TIF funds is the project involves the cost of upgrading and or replacing existing arts and culture infrastructure, including but not limited to heating, cooling, ADA requirements, stage improvements within the Opera House, History House, specifically named in the contract, Skowhegan Library, Grange Hall, Coburn House, and radio station in the district. So any of those eligible entities are written into the contract, and if we can show and support that they are upgrading, replacing, helping to improve existing agriculture infrastructure that's not eligible expense.
Anybody else like to speak? Yes. Go ahead. Here comes the mic.
Thank you all for your input, and I really appreciate the attention of trying to do this in a balanced manner. And I do think it's complicated. I think that, what I'm hearing from the board, and from towns, there's technically trying to understand what's happening. I think that we have, funded, produced money for social services in this town for a long time, many of which have been found to be of value. And I think that some of them will qualify for TIF, is an interesting way of paying for them and laudable. However, there's two problems that I see that there's an answer to. And one is that in 9 years, the TIF ends. And so we will have to readdress this question in 9 years. And the second question is the one that was raised, by Evan, thank you, which is just that an organization come back for money. So the History House, as an example, it typically asks for $15,000 for running the History House. Now, if they do have an infrastructure project because the roof goes or a heater goes, they likely won't be able to come back for TIF money because nobody likes that living. I don't like that either. I didn't vote on the prior Article 35, which is the Golden Park Commissioner. We have asked for 15,000 for many, many years. We do, as most of you know, mostly volunteer work there. Thank you to all the citizens who volunteer, because it really makes the park beautiful. But we really can benefit from TIF funds if we are going to get the going for the gazebo roof fixed, because we had to buy shingles and then pay for that. We had to buy gravel material for the parking lot, and it's hard to get the gravel companies to give up the gravel. And so that was good use of the TIF funds. But I don't know that the annual funds of taking care of some of the trees this fall, paying grass and cut grass, trying to keep up with regular maintenance is really a proper use of TIF funds. I have real concern about the limits that this is going to place on all of these organizations. So conceptually, I think there's a value being crossed, and I don't think it can be crossed. I'm concerned that I don't hear that you all are in agreement on this, and maybe more time needs to be spent with the TIF committee and the contract who's supposed to benefit. And I have to just be clear that I do support that the selectmen have the power, but this is a lot of change happening at once. So
Thank you. We're discussing the motion to amend. The motion to amend is to support the History House through the downtown TIF, not through the taxation. That is the motion that's on the floor. Would anybody else like to speak? Yes, ma'am. We need a mic down here.
My question is, are there heads of these different organizations that now that they know what is going on with their talking tonight, where they could say, this is our organization, and now that you know that we should encourage this, we really like to be different. Can that happen before we talk about it for 9 hours and put it in place that they will appreciate the law? Does anyone in the history of it say, get their opinion on this? Since.
Is there somebody from the History House here who would like to speak to this issue?
Is there anybody from the
Is there
history?
anybody from the History House here who would like to speak to this question? Yes. The question is, should the money come from taxation or should it come from the?
Just your thoughts on using the TIF money.
Might not be able to go fast and use.
Well, again, I think Gail had made mention of the volunteers that support these organizations went out and got all of their signatures, and now
Right, for taxation, but now we're finding out that we're gonna do it through tip money. Where, okay, well, we didn't ask for tip money, so if we were gonna ask for tip money, we would have got a project to apply for. But now we're getting this shut down, you know, all of us at a very short notice, as Dr. Limpy has noted. And I just think that it should go back to the drawing board. Nobody here really understands what this should really mean and what it's gonna mean going forward next year.
Anybody else? Yes.
So you're receiving the money in the US. Whether or not they came from downtown tips or the general tax fund, it shouldn't matter too much. The fact is your organization satisfying the tip rubric. Ultimately, if you're doing services for the downtown, that is what the tip is for. It's not just because there's many towns that use the tip and more than just small business needs. They use the tips for more than that because they're trying to benefit a larger part of the community. The other point is when the tip ends, all of that money then goes into the general tax fund. So they'll be the more money to cover expenses for community services. Isn't it just the way we try to alleviate pressure on the taxpayer who always had massive increases in their taxes over the past 10 years? It's small, but it's good. You came in with a flat budget by being able to divert 1%, which is 190,000 into the downtown tip. It also gives the tip committee time to reevaluate how they're doing their work and to become more inclusive and more balanced and more careful about how they give the money.
Yes, question? No, let's go ahead.
So, they did not, stuff, and, please. This. Okay, can you hear me? Yeah, so this did happen really quickly, a little too quick for my comfort as well. We have a tip committee that does a really nice job, it's a diversity. And they are able to, make recommendations to a select board. But what I saw happen was recommendations more to the select board that were, essentially, ignored, even though it was a 5 or 7, and however many people are on the tip committee. And I think we can do better with our tip funds. I'm not gonna say that we can't. We could take that idea, we could find out ways that to see how many jobs were actually created. We might get some buy-in maybe from the person that's receiving the tip fund, public or private. There's lots of things that we can change in this process to change those things. The one issue I have is that these organizations did not sit in front of the tip committee and apply, right? So they didn't actually submit an application. So, and other people did, right? So that's a little tricky. I feel bad for those people. And, but with that said, I think we can be creative and we can, work together, right? Work as a team. And I think that's what we tried to do here. Even though I didn't love it, this is kind of what we came up with. I was worried that on split measures that maybe an organization wouldn't get fully funded, but I'm understanding that that's not the case. It's just, will we be able to, take care of a second floor that needs a platform 24 stairs up, or we never become a position, right? So it's things like that I would love to see the money go first. But overall, I think we can do better. I think we will do better with the tip funds, but here we are today.
Okay. The question, is there a second? It's moved and seconded to move the question. There's no debate. All those in favor, raise your hand. Move the question. All those in favor of moving the question? All those opposed? Motion carries. We're now voting on the amendment. The amendment for Article 36 is to fund Skowhegan History House through the downtown tip. Any last words from anybody on the motion to amend? All right, those in favor of the motion to amend, raise your hand. Those opposed? Yeah. Those in favor, please stand. Those in favor of the motion to amend, which means to fund the money from the TIF, please stand until you are counted. You may stand.
Okay, stay there. Is he standing until this? Eight, no. Okay.
All right. Those opposed to the motion to amend, please stand and remain standing.
So. Here, come, Jamie.
Thank you. Motion to amend carries 53 to 36. So now the main motion is to raise and appropriate the sum of $15,000 for Skowhegan History House and be funded by the downtown TIF. Anybody want to comment? All those in favor of the amended motion, raise your hand. All those opposed, the motion carries. Article 37.
Move to accept Article 37, fund taxation. Sorry.
It's been moved and seconded to fund to raise and appropriate the sum of $85,000 for Main Street Skowhegan through taxation. It's been moved and seconded. That's on number 37. Jeff moved it, and the second was Pat. Okay. Yes, sir.
All right, contrary to popular belief, that's a lot of money to take out of the tip. I just wanted to be clear, somebody else has it fine, but I am not going to do this.
Anybody would, we have a motion on the floor. The motion is to support Main Street Skowhegan with $85,000 from taxation. Would anybody like to speak to that? Yes, Amber.
I'm just gonna speak to again the justifications where this would be reasonable. Main Street Skowhegan is working on the alteration, remodel and repair or reconstruction of existing buildings and its project. The kitchen project right next to the town hall. We are allowed to spend money on advertising and marketing costs, and Skowhegan Main Street is explicitly named as marketing that positions Skowhegan as a destination for agricultural products, tourism, cooking, baking, education, events, festivals, run of river, etc. Main Street is also working on beautification of green spaces, sidewalks, crosswalks, our riverfront project. The development of the river project is explicitly named as a state contract. So lots of reasons why this is an eligible TIF request. Same argument applies that has already been raised, which is that if we designate here reduce funds for them to ask us to do something good.
Motion to move the question. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to move the question. The main motion is $85,000 for Main Street Skowhegan out of taxation. All those in favor of that motion, raise your hand. Keep them up, please, so I can see them. All those opposed? The motion carries. Article 37 is approved in the amount of $85,000 from taxation. Article 38. The city council will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $35,000 for Skowhegan Regional Chamber of Commerce. Would anybody like to make a motion? Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded to approve $35,000 Skowhegan Regional Chamber of Commerce out of taxation. Questions or comments? Yes, ma'am. Where's our mic? Where's our mic man?
It's not my building.
My question is, there are 501c6 and municipalities usually don't have to give tax dollars for those. It's usually 501c3 from what I Googled today. So I would like it to come out of the technology, the taxation investment needs. Because they can lose. I mean, it would be like the Elks Club or the Eagles Club coming and asking for money from taxes. Is it kind of the same thing? They do things for businesses, but Google can be wrong.
Just to clarify, this motion is $35,000 for the regional chamber from taxation. Would anybody else like to comment? The question? Let me get that gentleman in. His hand went up before your mouth opened, John.
My question is that it sounded like a motion that she was making that maybe wasn't understood.
It was a question that the thing about emotion and I don't know. Yeah, that's.
Well,
I would second her motion.
well, I don't know what her motion
I
is.
will speak that
That's it. Okay, so we have a motion to amend. That's been seconded, and that's for $35,000 out of the tip. Is that what you're saying? Okay. All right. So we have a motion to amend on the floor. Discussion regarding the motion to amend. Yes, Linda.
correct separation here. It said 10,000 from taxation and 25,000 from the.
Those are recommendations, Linda.
Oh, okay.
You're not. Is there a second? Moved and seconded to move the question. There's no debate. All those in favor of ending debate, raise your hand. All those opposed, the motion carries. So what we have is a motion to amend on the floor, $35,000 for the regional chamber from the TIF. All those in favor of the motion to amend, raise your hand. All those opposed. All those in favor, please stand and remain standing until someone points at you.
You guys just wanted to get my sense.
Okay, all those opposed to the motion to amend, please stand and remain standing.
How many? 16.
Everybody been counted? Oh, one more right here.
No.
For no. Motion to amend carries 44 yes, 30 no. Now, the main motion is to raise and appropriate $35,000 for the Skowhegan Regional Chamber of Commerce with the funds to come from the TIF, the downtown TIF.